Never do this. I always wonder how much of this I'm actually going to edit out. So I like saying, oh no, it's going to be completely edited. We're doing something a little different this time. We're doing a lathe project. I haven't done one of these on camera yet, so I'm not overtly comfortable with it either. It's a new process. Let me show you what we're going to be making. This is Metal Lightsaber. It's a cool looking lightsaber. I wanted to do a lathe project so I can, just get better at it. And I thought, we'll make her another lightsaber, right? Except the blade normally comes out here. I think I want to rotate it and have the blade here and the crystal here. I think that would be an interesting yin and yang dichotomy. I think it'd be neat. So this is what we're going to do. It looks relatively complicated, but it's not. It's just a couple of easy pieces. Let me cut up these pieces. We'll show you where we're going to go from there. Alright, that was weird. The blade is deflecting oddly, so I'm getting real uneven cuts. Time to replace the blade, and it's a wide tooth blade. The smaller the teeth, or the more number of teeth, the finer the cut, the better. You know, you want metal. For metal, you want nice, tiny teeth. I have too many. This is a wood blade, but it's aluminum. If it was anything other than aluminum, I'd worry. Like I said, aluminum's pretty easy. Still trying to figure out where to put you so you can see everything I'm doing, and I can still actually do the things that I am doing. That looks like a good spot. You can see here how off I am. That line is straight. First thing I'm going to do is bring my tool in, try and trim that up a little bit, make it nice and even. Alright, the headstock's moving around a lot. It's because it's not fully secured to the bench yet. Let's take a minute and secure that, and I will be right back. Alright, it's not perfect, but it's a little better. And for this machine, I think that's the best I can hope for. It's just a little better. So the worst part of it is cutting that uneven edge off. Now that it's off, the rest of this is pretty easy. I want to mirror this piece. That's what we're working on right now. The size, pretty accurate. I don't have much room to play, so gotta make sure I make everything count. For most of this, I'm just eyeballing it because it's a costume part. It's a lightsaber. I don't think the Jedi Council is gonna come after me because Faye's lightsaber is a little off. Start with short angle first because the long angle can't quite grab onto the collar. So this is not the best lathe in the world, but it's the one I have. It fits in my shop, and it does exactly what I need it to in the end. It just takes a while. So since we're doing a compound angle, I guess we're just doing an angle, huh? I have to go all the way to the middle before I have the two bolts that I can adjust angle with. Like I said, it's not the best lathe in the world, but it gets the job done. I'd rather have one that gets the job done than the lathe I don't have. I'm just eyeballing it. So right about there. Arbitrary spot. Now I'm just going to cut the angle in. It's a way better finish than any rate of getting on this machine. We're going to flip it and do the exact same thing. Now the angle's identical, but because this has, I should chamfer the inside real quick. Just because it'll make putting everything together easier. So this part is way thicker on this end than it's going to be on this end, but it's the exact same taper. kind of a interesting little illusion I went for. So now we're just going to do the same thing we just did. Not too shabby. First part's done. It's pretty neat. On to the next, which is the exact same thing. I'm going to save you the facing off part because that's horrible and I'm just going to do it on my own. Carbide is super inexpensive. Really easy to replace. It's like a utility knife blades. Alright, that's much better. Not too shabby. 2 pieces down, 3 to go. Well, 4 if you count the shroud. This is the one I'm not looking forward to because this one cut up real rough like. So I'm probably going to mark it and then recut it. That might be good enough. All the lathe work is done, right? We're on to probably my favorite part. The nuts and bolts of making everything look like it's supposed to look. This is the one we're mirroring, except I thought it would be neat if instead of doing it the exact way, it was spun 180 degrees and the emitter is where the crystal is and the crystal goes where the emitter goes, right? It's an interesting, neat little concept. I thought it was kind of cool. But after talking with Faith, I want to keep all the bolts in the same spot, if that makes any sense. So it's more intentional. So I don't want people to go, oh, just put it on backwards. No, it looks like this for a reason. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to drill one hole here to hold everything in place. And I'm drilling it for a tapping size. So I'm going to drill a hole right here for one of my M3 screws. As soon as I go grab my bits. This is my M3, which makes this my M3. No. Can't quite read these. I believe this is my M4. M3 by 20. I'm going to grab a little bit of scrap, pre-drill and test everything. Make sure I get it right. Here there are books that'll tell you exactly which thread size and bolts and all the stuff you're supposed to use. Look at that. I like trial and error. Well, nope, seems about perfect. This thing on the other hand, that's horrible. I'm just putting set screws in aluminum. I'm not terribly worried about it. That does not seem right. That seems way too small. This whole metric thing, I'm not overtly good at it. This seems way too big. I'm only guessing at all this stuff, people. There is no exact, no right, no rhyme, no reason. It's that jolt at the end that gets me every time. Whoa. The other one tapped fine. And it broke. Ugh. 3rd days, right? Where nothing you do is going to work right. Mainly because you're an idiot. Well, I'm an idiot. So we'll start with the tap that I still have. Because there are 2 screws, 2 M3s here. And they're going to translate over to here. If I had to guess, the hole size was ever so slightly too small for my other tap. And I just happened to get right. Got mad and stopped talking. Yep, great YouTube content. Guy gets mad, frustrated, stops talking. So of course the problem at this point is my M4 tap that I just broke is crucial to everything from this point on. You got a couple M5s will do, or the button heads on the hilt. So we may be done for the evening, which is fine because I'm starting to get a little frustrated. It happens. You're working, right? And you get super mad, take a break, walk away, come back later. You should not continue doing what it is you're doing if you're frustrated. Because things have a tendency of snowballing. Bad decisions lead to bad decisions. I should absolutely stop right now. I'm going to stop in a minute. I've always found that I err on the side of using too small a drill bit. Broke a tap last time I did this. I think I'd learn. And we're done for the night. With that, I'm going to walk away and see all you people in the morning when I'm in a better mood and have ordered new taps. It's a new day. It's actually a couple days, almost a week later. In an upcoming video, I sliced my thumb completely open. Like one end, it was. So I wanted to give it at least a week to fully heal. That's fully healed until, you know, I start back up. But I've got new taps. Let's pick up where we left off. Before we get too far, I'm going to take one of them out to verify that that's the size I need. If I go through all this trouble, it's the wrong size, I'm going to be mad. But I guess that's why we do tests first, right? I kept breaking taps because I used too small of a drill bit. You do that because I'm like always worried about just over tapping or over drilling and then not being able to have anything for the tap to grab onto. But that's also why we do test pieces. So again, I'm going to drill a hole. We're going to try the new taps. It seems that no matter when I decide to do a video, one of my neighbors is mowing the lawn. They have these cool jigs you can put in around it that holds everything in line and all kinds of stuff. I should probably get something like that, but it would only help with this. Since these are round, it's not going to do anything for that. It's half expecting the tap to be broken. I'm overextending myself. Trying to reach too far away. If you're working on a thing, bring the thing to you, makes it easier to do. This is way too heavy. It's too top heavy. Causing everything to do weird stuff. So we're gonna go back to the other one, which I hate as well. Oh, that's ratcheting, huh? Interesting. Got a ratcheting effect. Didn't know that. Let's try this again. I'm tapping aluminum, which is annoying to start, but it's a lot of work for something that's cosmetic. But it's part of the design, so it's what we're doing. Well, this is clearly not working. So we're going to do something stupid. I've seen it done. I'm not a fan of it. That is clearly the wrong size tap, which is why we pre-drill and test everything, right? So they're kind of labeled, but they're labeled in such a way that you can't read it. If they put it along the shaft instead of around the shaft, it'd be way easier to read. That absolutely does not fit. It doesn't fit there either. So now the question becomes, am I doing something wrong? Or is the tap doing something wrong? These absolutely do not fit. So, the new taps I got appear to be useless, which is unfortunate. Okay. This has been one of those super annoying processes. I normally don't have those with my lightsabers. For some reason, this does not want to do anything. I don't like using taps in a drill. I absolutely do not like using taps in a drill. There's no real control over it. Jacob's checks never really grab on right. been one of those days, you know? But it threads perfectly. I'm going to do it again because I think I may have reamed out the hole. That worked remarkably well. Threaded perfect, sat perfect. Alright, so this drill bit, this tap, so this gets 6 holes drilled in. I'm going to start with the drill first, then I'm going to line it up. I'm just using the rest of the lightsaber to hold this piece in place. For everything to grip. I'm going to grab a crystal. I'll be right back. I have a white one. So I want to make sure that the crystal is just barely visible. Because I want the crystals to stick out about the same amount. I think I like that. I like that much better. Once I put one in, the rest is going to be locked in place. It's just getting this first one in, it's going to be the hard part. First one's in. The rest are all going to be identical. Now that I've got a pattern down, move everything else out of the way. They should be pretty quick. The hardest part's going to be lining everything up, because I want this bolt to be exactly opposite of this bolt. There's just a lot of lining and hoping and praying. Luckily, it's just a stupid little lightsaber for a Star Wars costume. So it's not like it's high precision or a steam engine or anything, you know, super important. But it's important to my teenager, so it's important to me. So there's nothing for this to really bottom out on, so I'm going to have to add Loctite, which I have floating around here somewhere, once everything's said and done. This end also gets the CoverTech, Comtech, I think it's CoverTech, the loop for the lightsabers. So now, because I don't know why, I decided to do 6 on this. So trying to line everything up is going to be a little difficult. This one I think I'm going to mark, because I want everything evenly spaced. It won't be really noticeable if it's not. It's all just a process of getting in a pattern and doing that pattern. This is going to be the same thing as this. I've already done this whole process before. I've now officially done the whole thing, and it's just the same thing. Just drilling some holes. There we go. So I know a lot of makers overdo things when it comes to their lightsabers. I come from the it's an elegant weapon mindset. I don't want to add a lot of weird to it. And I've already added enough weird with, well, the fact that I'm making it. They make machines that do exact hole placement, and so I could get a mill with a dividing head and an end mill and just make everything perfect. That stuff's expensive. I don't have that. Most of us don't have that, right? So I just want to make this look as good as I can without, you know, being crazy about it. Getting the right drill bit made this whole process way easier. I was fighting and snapped 2 bits because I'm using the wrong size drill bit. Now that I have the right one in, this is just a breeze. I could do this all day. I think I have to enlarge this hole. I don't know if I have a drill bit wide enough. I do, but I have to be real careful. So I don't want to compromise the integrity of this ring. That's what holds it onto the belt. There. I should grab something to hold this. Don't use your hands if you can avoid it. Remember what I just said about don't use your hands? The smart thing to do would be to get out my drill press. That way I know they're straight up and down, but it's under and it's heavy. I don't feel like it. So the reason I wanted this bolt to be in between these two is if it's just a little off from one of them, it looks like it's a milling mistake. Had I put it perfectly centered, it would have looked a little more intentional. I don't think it really matters. It only matters to me. I need to cut it right there. I have a new bandsaw blade. Should install the new bandsaw blade. Nice clean cut. Brand new bandsaw blade. I'm kind of excited about it. It's been a while. I should replace them way more often than I do. But you know, it's not a money issue. It's more of a I forget. And then the next thing you know, I have an old blade that I have to deal with. Well, that's really the way it is though, isn't it? For most of us. It's one of those, oh, yeah, I gotta do that thing. I haven't done that thing. And you forget. The next thing you know, you're dealing with something you really shouldn't have to. And you normally wouldn't. And you don't notice that it's horrible until you switch it out. And then you're like, oh my goodness, why didn't I change this earlier? Because I didn't. That's pretty much it. Alright. We're going to cut the end off now. That worked like a hot damn. That was pretty alright. That looks much better. So now this drill bit is going to live with this tap in this case. I don't want to ever have to think anymore. I just grab the case and I have all the bits already. So now I have a big decision to make. I'm probably just going to mirror this cowl. So now I'm going to mark and cut out my cowl. I'm just going to copy the contour. All of this lightsaber was eyeballed, by the way. So if I'm a little off, I'm not going to hold myself accountable. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. It doesn't mean I'm not going to try and do a good job. The nice thing about aluminum is it cuts like wood. So I can just use my bandsaw. I don't have to get special anythings. I have a wood cutting blade, or a metal cutting blade on my bandsaw. I don't need to, but I have it because, you know, it makes things a little easier. So this type of thing you're interested in, you should absolutely give it a shot. For the record, this looks much darker than it is in real. On camera, it looks much darker than it actually is. So, you know, it also looks much more crowded than it actually is. So here's my problem. If I keep it straight, I may be able to cut both sides, right? But if I'm off a little bit, this whole side's going to look weird. If I cut it at this angle, I'm just cutting through empty tube, but it'll make more work to do the other side. I think I'm going to cut it at an angle, at least for this part. So now it's just rotary tool and a sanding disc. And I'm going to round off all the edges, make this whole piece look nice and smooth. Because there's a couple of sharp points. I want it to look nice, I don't want it to look sharp. So we're going to sand the whole thing, smooth it out. Aluminum, metal cutting tools, metal working tool, or woodworking tool. It's way more achievable and easy to do than you think. This is over half gone. So when you put something like that on a lathe, it's not overtly dangerous, it just doesn't work very well, which is what I was trying to show you just a minute ago. Especially when just a couple minutes on my buffing wheel did a way better job than that could have at all. So keep that in mind. If you're using a lathe, it's got limits. Everything has limits. But we're almost done. Home stretch. I'm excited. Lightsabers, lots of finicky little adjustments. This doesn't want to fit because that is just barely proud. There. So this piece needs to be cast. I'm trying to figure out whether I want to cast it in zinc or in brass. At the moment I'm leaning towards brass, but I'm not sure. Because the activation button needs to be elevated a little bit. But look at that. That looks so good together. Let's put the leather wrap on. Oh my goodness. Speaking of which, it's where I'm at next. I also cast a brass raptor claw to go on like these. Because I think brass on one would look kind of neat. But next, on to leather. So now to line up everything, I'm using this grid here. I have the edge I just cut along one of the edges on the board itself. And I'm just using that as a verification that I am indeed at 90 degrees, or at least pretty close to it. So then I have two parallel lines. I can use those to cut a nice straight edge without even measuring or angling or anything. Just line it up and cut. I'm using two-part eyelets. I like two-part eyelets way better than one part. The one part with the squeezy, I don't like that. They don't work nearly as well. There are 5 holes on this one, on the one I'm reproducing. The nice thing about that is I can just put a hole there, a hole there, and then I just want one in the middle and then one in between each of those. What I did is I put a mark about where I want that one to be and about where I want that one to be. Since the location isn't critical, I just put one dead center, or as close to center. I'm just lining up these outside lines with the marks. See, I've got 2 marks here. I'm just lining the outside. It doesn't have to be exact. If you have the ability to make it exact, go for it. But for this, doesn't need it. I'm gonna take my punch. So now I'm gonna punch all of these holes. I normally prefer to drill, but drill's all the way over there. I'm just putting the big side all the way through. I like having that on the outside because I think it looks. Anvil goes down. Now there are a bunch of these little rings that goes over the anvil, holds everything down. Hit it once real hard with a hammer. That's it. But that rivet's going nowhere. Just gonna do that 9 more times. Now I just need to lace it around the lightsaber, which you do not need to watch me do. So it's mostly done. I say mostly because it doesn't have a button yet, because I'm going to brass cast a piece that goes on top for this one, and then I'm going to zinc cast for this one. For the most part, not too shabby. I also need to clear cast the crystal for the end, and then do all the electronics. That's a different video. This is already way too long. There's no need to. Oh, I added this. That's the screw that holds the blade in place. Speaking of which, so this is the existing blade. I wanted to go green on this one. I want them to be complementary of each other. I don't want them to be identical. I think that looks very, very cool. I'm extremely happy with how that turned out. Let's see how they look on the belt. Like I said, no electronics. Right now, they are just parade blades. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing about electronics for it yet. I'll figure it out. That is pretty neat. I have to admit, I really like how that looks. I'm very happy with how that turned out. It was a fun project. It made me very upset. There were quite a few times where I got extremely frustrated. It was all stuff I was doing, using the wrong drill bit. My lathe wasn't secured, so it was wobbly a bit. You know, just, it's not the best lathe in the world. Nothing I use really is the best of whatever it is. It's more about my ability to do the thing rather than the thing's ability to be the thing. I rarely blame the tool. I usually blame the person behind the tool. Aluminum can be completely tooled with woodworking tool. So a rotary tool, you have a Dremel, it'll work. A bandsaw, it'll work. Chop saw, as long as you go slow, it'll work. You don't need a lathe to do this. My first lightsaber wasn't made on a lathe. I'm gonna put a link in the doobly for where I get my metal, by the way, because that was the hardest part for me, was finding where the metal was. I may also break down sizes that I use for everything. And again, that's up to me. That's just how I'm sizing things. I would recommend you get whatever electronic kit you're going to use, because most people use kits, first, and then size your tubes off of that. So I'll probably just, I don't know, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. Speaking of which, you may want to think about subscribing. Most of my viewers are not subscribers. Seems weird, but you know, hey, who am I to argue? So yeah, if this is your kind of thing, think about subscribing. If not, thanks for making it to the end. I'm sure you just wanted to jump over to the reveal, but either way, thanks for sticking around. Hope I see you next week.